Steven Spielberg and Harrison Ford created cinematic magic together in films ranging from Raiders of the Lost Ark to E.T., making it seem like they could do no wrong. However, tensions were brewing behind the scenes. Their creative disagreements started over artistic direction, intensified during Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and ultimately led to years of silence. Today, we uncover the shocking truth behind why Spielberg has never forgiven Ford and why they haven't spoken since. Born on December 18, 1946, in Cincinnati, Ohio, Steven Spielberg grew up in a Jewish family with deep Ukrainian roots. His father, Arnold, was an electrical engineer who worked on early computers, while his mother, Leah, was a stage pianist who later opened a restaurant. Both of his parents came from families that had fled Ukraine, and their stories of escape would later influence Spielberg's filmmaking. Spielberg's childhood was anything but stable. His father's job required frequent relocations, moving the family from Cincinnati to New Jersey and eventually to Arizona. Constantly having to start over was tough, especially as one of the only Jewish kids in his neighborhood. His family's strict religious practices made him feel out of place, and school was no refuge. Bullies targeted him, throwing pennies, calling him names, and even defacing his locker with cruel messages. Some classmates would sneeze at him mockingly as they passed by. To avoid being singled out, he told people his last name was of German origin rather than Jewish, a decision he later regretted until he grew older and embraced his heritage with pride. Through all the challenges, one thing gave Spielberg a sense of purpose: filmmaking. At age 12, he made a short Western film, The Last Gunfight, using his father's 8mm camera for a Boy Scout photography badge. Though simple, the project sparked his passion for storytelling. By 13, he had created a 40-minute war film inspired by his father's World War II stories. Lacking professional tools, he improvised special effects, using flour-filled boards to simulate explosions. The film won first place in a statewide competition, marking his first taste of success. At 17, he directed Firelight, his first full-length sci-fi film about alien encounters. Despite a budget of just $500, he used innovative techniques like LED exposures to create glowing spaceship effects. Though the production was challenging, it established themes of mystery, wonder, and broken families, elements he would later refine in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He premiered Firelight at a local theater, selling tickets for $1 each. After selling 500 tickets, he made his first ever film profit, $1. For Spielberg, it was proof that audiences were willing to pay to see his work. Spielberg's Hollywood career took off in 1968 with his 26-minute student film Amblin, which had no dialogue. The simple yet symbolic story followed a young man and woman hitchhiking through the Mojave Desert in the 1960s. Despite a small $15,000 budget, Spielberg shot the film in 35mm, an ambitious and costly choice for a newcomer. Instead of relying on dialogue, he used expressive cinematography and music to convey emotion, showcasing his ability to tell compelling stories visually. The impact of Amblin was immediate. Universal Television executive Sidney Sheinberg was so impressed that he offered Spielberg a 7-year contract, making him the youngest director ever to sign such a deal. At just 22, Spielberg was now working with a major studio. Years later, he would name his production company, Amblin Entertainment, after the film. As he honed his craft directing television episodes, Spielberg gained recognition with Columbo in 1971, giving the detective series a Hitchcock-like cinematic flair. However, his breakthrough came that same year with Duel, a made-for-TV thriller about a traveling salesman terrorized by a mysterious truck driver. Using low-angle shots to make the truck appear monstrous and intense sound design to heighten the tension, Spielberg turned a simple premise into a gripping drama. Duel was so cinematic that it was released in theaters internationally, cementing Spielberg's reputation as a promising young director. Then, at just 28 years old, Spielberg changed Hollywood forever with Jaws, 1975. What began as a film about a killer shark became a cultural phenomenon, setting new standards for blockbuster filmmaking. Before Jaws, major film releases were not launched nationwide, and summer was not considered a prime movie season. Universal took a bold risk, spending $700,000 on TV advertising and releasing Jaws in 409 theaters simultaneously, a strategy that paid off. The film became the first in U.S. history to gross over $100 million, ultimately earning $470 million worldwide. However, Jaws nearly fell apart during production. The mechanical shark frequently malfunctioned, looking more like a floating bathtub than a terrifying predator. Rather than scrapping the film, Spielberg turned the limitations into strengths. He minimized the shark's screen time, relying instead on suspenseful music and implied danger, much like Alfred Hitchcock's approach to horror. John Williams' now iconic two-note theme intensified the fear, proving that the unknown is often more terrifying than what is shown on screen. Beyond its scares, Jaws revolutionized film distribution. Before its release, studios would test movies in select cities before expanding nationwide. Jaws changed that, proving that wide releases combined with heavy marketing could create instant hits. It also pioneered the era of movie merchandise, with Universal selling Jaws t-shirts, toys, and even swimming fins. The film's success reshaped Hollywood, shifting the industry toward high-concept blockbusters. After Jaws, Spielberg continued pushing boundaries with Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977, a sci-fi film that diverged from Cold War alien invasion narratives. Instead of hostile extraterrestrials, Spielberg's aliens were mysterious and peaceful. The story followed Roy Neary, an ordinary man whose obsession with UFOs leads him on a life-altering journey. The film reflected Spielberg's own fascination with wonder and discovery. Visually, Close Encounters was ahead of its time. Special effects guru Douglas Trumbull crafted breathtaking scenes, including the glowing descent of the alien mothership. More than just a spectacle, the film had emotional depth. Spielberg used music as a universal language between humans and aliens, a five-note melody by John Williams that became as iconic as the Jaws theme. Though Spielberg was only 30, his perspective on the film evolved with time. In later years, he admitted that if he had been a father when making Close Encounters, he might have portrayed Roy Neary differently. In the film, Neary leaves his family to follow the aliens, a choice Spielberg later viewed differently after experiencing fatherhood himself. That same year, Spielberg and his friend George Lucas vacationed in Hawaii. While relaxing on the beach, Spielberg expressed his desire to direct a James Bond film. Lucas had a better idea: a daring archaeologist named Indiana Smith. Spielberg liked the concept but suggested changing the last name to Jones, and thus, Indiana Jones was born. Working with writer Lawrence Kasdan, Spielberg and Lucas crafted a fast-paced adventure inspired by 1930s serials. The first challenge was casting the lead. Initially, Tom Selleck was chosen, but he dropped out due to obligations with Magnum, P.I. Reluctantly, Lucas considered Harrison Ford, concerned about overusing him after Star Wars. Ford, however, won the role by making Indy his own. Ford's improvisation added legendary moments. While filming in Tunisia, a planned fight scene between Indiana and a master swordsman was scrapped because Ford was suffering from dysentery. Exhausted, he asked Spielberg, "Why don't I just shoot him?" Spielberg agreed, leading to one of the film's most iconic and humorous scenes. Spielberg and Ford's partnership defined Indiana Jones, but cracks in their relationship grew over time, culminating in creative clashes during Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Disagreements over the alien-themed plot, pushed by Lucas but resisted by Ford and Spielberg, created friction. Though Spielberg worked to keep the film true to Indiana Jones' spirit, the damage was done. What led to their final falling out? And why has Spielberg never forgiven Ford? The answers lie in a clash of vision, loyalty, and the shifting landscape of Hollywood. The 2002 film Minority Report, inspired by a short story by Philip K. Dick, was far more than just another sci-fi flick. It explored the concept of stopping crimes before they occur, diving into the tension between fate and free will. Tom Cruise's character, John Anderton, finds himself accused of a murder he has yet to commit. Director Steven Spielberg didn't just craft an intense action thriller. He also collaborated with scientists to create a convincing vision of the future. The film grossed $358 million worldwide, proving that Spielberg could make a thought-provoking sci-fi film a blockbuster success. However, Spielberg's talents extended beyond futuristic storytelling. He also tackled real-world historical events, as seen in Munich, 2005, which depicted Israel's covert mission to eliminate those responsible for the 1972 Olympics massacre. Rather than glorifying vengeance, the film examined its moral and emotional toll, showing how violence perpetuates itself. Though controversial, Munich earned 5 Academy Award nominations. However, it didn't achieve major box office success, bringing in only $31 million worldwide. In 2012, Lincoln transported audiences to the 1860s, focusing on President Abraham Lincoln's determined effort to abolish slavery. Instead of a sweeping historical epic, Spielberg zeroed in on Lincoln's political maneuvering to pass the 13th Amendment. Daniel Day-Lewis won an Oscar for his remarkable portrayal of Lincoln, and the film received 12 Academy Award nominations. Despite its slow, dialogue-heavy nature, Lincoln captivated audiences and grossed over $275 million, proving that even a methodical political drama could be engaging. Spielberg continued his fascination with history in Bridge of Spies, 2015, which brought the Cold War era to life through the story of James B. Donovan, an insurance lawyer who facilitated a high-stakes spy exchange between the US and the USSR. Partly written by the Coen brothers, the screenplay was nuanced and powerful. The film won 6 Academy Awards, including Best Supporting Actor for Mark Rylance, who played a Soviet spy. In 2017, Spielberg shifted to journalism with The Post, starring Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks. Centered around the Pentagon Papers scandal, the film delved into themes of power, corruption, and press freedom. Spielberg fast-tracked production, completing the movie in just 9 months to ensure it remained relevant to contemporary politics. It earned a Best Picture nomination and grossed $179 million, reaffirming his ability to create timely, impactful films. Just when it seemed Spielberg was committed to serious storytelling, he returned to blockbuster entertainment with Ready Player One, 2018. A love letter to video games and pop culture, the film imagined a dystopian future where people escape reality through virtual worlds. Packed with references to classics like Back to the Future and The Shining, the movie dazzled with groundbreaking visual effects. While some critics dismissed it as flashy and shallow, audiences embraced it, and the film grossed $67 million globally. Then came a deeply personal project, The Fabelmans, 2022. The semi-autobiographical film depicted Spielberg's childhood, his passion for filmmaking, and his family's struggles. Though it didn't perform well at the box office, making just $45.6 million, it resonated deeply with viewers. The film received 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, and won the People's Choice Award at the Toronto International Film Festival. It offered a rare glimpse into Spielberg's most vulnerable and honest storytelling. Beyond filmmaking, Spielberg has had a rich personal life. He married actress Amy Irving in 1985, but the relationship ended in 1989 with one of Hollywood's most expensive divorces, costing him $100 million. They had a son, Max Spielberg. Later, he met Kate Capshaw on the set of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. They married in 1991 and built a large blended family, including Capshaw's children from previous relationships, Jessica and Theo, whom Spielberg later adopted. Together, they had 4 more children: Sasha, Sawyer, Michaela, who was adopted, and Destry. Initially hesitant about fatherhood, Spielberg changed his perspective after making E.T., realizing that both directing and parenting involve guiding something greater than oneself. His wife, Kate, stepped away from acting to focus on their home, and they viewed their marriage as a partnership. Spielberg managed storytelling, while she managed family life. Spielberg also felt a responsibility beyond storytelling. After directing Schindler's List, he became determined to preserve history, founding the USC Shoah Foundation in 1994 to document the testimonies of Holocaust survivors. The project later expanded to include survivors of other genocides, such as those in Rwanda, Armenia, and Cambodia. To date, the foundation has recorded over 56,000 survivor stories from 65 countries in 44 languages. Spielberg sees these accounts as essential warnings against hatred. His philanthropy extended beyond the Shoah Foundation. He established the Righteous Persons Foundation, donating over $100 million to Jewish cultural and social justice initiatives. He also created the Wunderkinder Foundation, supporting causes in healthcare, education, the arts, and disaster relief. Notably, he contributed $30 million to aid struggling film industry workers with health insurance and donated to disaster recovery efforts, including Hurricane Katrina relief. He co-founded the Starlight Children's Foundation, dedicated to bringing joy to critically ill children. In 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, Spielberg and his wife donated $1 million to humanitarian efforts, demonstrating that his commitment to giving back remains strong.